Hello everyone, can you hear me and see me well? Good evening everyone. It's good to be here with you. Just gonna wait for a few minutes until 6:15 so we can make a start. Meanwhile, maybe just relax, trying to connect yourself with anything higher that you believe. Reminding yourself that you surely don't need to be a spiritist to watch this. And in fact, if you know of someone that needs some words of encouragement, of hope today, don't forget to share this video later. Okay? All right, everyone. Good evening. It's really good to have the opportunity to be here talking to you today in such interesting times for all of us, isn't it? And today's talk is really aimed to reach everyone's heart. It is aimed to make us stop and think a little bit about the meaning of Easter very independently from any religious belief that you may have. It is completely irrelevant at this stage if you watching us at the moment don't even believe in God, because the content of today's talk, it's about us as human beings more than anything. And hopefully by the end of this talk, you're going to be able to see how the true meaning of Easter is not about the dogma, it's not about the rituals, but it is truly about what we can do within ourselves to change the world, and to change our own way, our own perspectives of how we look at lives, especially those days, in these very unusual and unseen circumstances. But before I go ahead, I first would like to mentalize, and I prefer to close my eyes when I do so. And I do that to connect with the higher being, to connect with the universe, all the living things, whether they find themselves in the form of physical bodily beings, or whether they find themselves spiritually. You can do the same, trying to connect with anything that you believe that is higher than you. And let's ask these entities, these beings, this higher energy, to help ourselves in this moment, to enlighten our minds, to open our hearts, to widen our perspectives and our views of life, so to help us reduce maybe the suffering that we're going through, maybe the uncomfortable feeling that we might be experiencing due to the latest circumstances that surrounds all of us in the world. And we thank Jesus as well for his wisdom, for the words, for the teachings that he left us. And with that mentalization, let's then start our talk today. All right, everyone. It is, as I said, a great responsibility today to be talking to you about the meaning of Easter. Well, Easter, for many of us, including myself, of course, and for many of you watching me from home, and from the people that you're going to forward this link to later, there is always a religious connotation to Easter, isn't it? A lot of people would resemble going to the church, maybe undertaking specific rituals that might be normal for that specific practice or religion. And that's actually okay, that's true. And for a lot of people, it is a very special moment from a religious sense. And so should be. But what I'd like to do today is probably to take us back a little bit and really remind ourselves of the true meaning of Easter. How did it start? And let's look at Easter as well in a contemporary view, trying to understand exactly things that are going on today, and so be able to have a perspective of the facts that we face on our daily lives in a more positive note. So the Easter was a celebration. It started as a celebration when the Jewish actually freed themselves from slavery in Egypt. That happened about 1300 years before Jesus came to earth. So for that specific people, the Jewish at that time, Easter as a celebration already meant a transition, a change, meant a change in life circumstances, a change that also would be occurring internally from being slaves to now be free men and women. And later, when Jesus was on earth, let's remind ourselves that when Jesus finally got crucified, it was actually in the week of Easter. And in the week leading up to the Good Friday, Jesus actually caught up with the apostles or disciples. And Jesus knew exactly what was going to happen to him. And Jesus had a really open discussion, talk to the apostles and said, very soon you're going to experience deep sadness, a very important loss will happen in your lives. And there's a lot of change coming. And actually, when the apostles had the opportunity then later to understand what would happen, of course, as we all know, Jesus got crucified on Friday, on the Good Friday, as we know. What ended up happening, and the apostles really just understood that after the fact, is just up to that point, the experience and the greatness of that relationship between the apostles or the disciples with Jesus were up to that point very constrained to the bodily existence, to the physical contact, to the fact that the apostles could go in touch and hear the words that Jesus was actually speaking. Whereas the crucifixion of Jesus, and again Easter as the change, as a different phase, actually came to touch the whole humanity, but first and primarily the apostles to start with. That now all these beliefs and the energy and that unconditional love that Jesus came and taught the apostles for such a long time, for basically 3 years, was actually now being able to be experienced without Jesus himself being physically in his body. So it was a change from the close physical connection and relationship to a more philosophical, emotional, spiritual connection, which was exactly what Jesus came here to teach all of us. That the spiritual life, in fact, is the true and real life. And this experience that we now just live is just part of our journey to evolve, isn't it? So the words of Easter then, as I've mentioned before, is a transition, is a specific moment that due to the circumstances around us, we are kindly invited to reflect, to reconsider, to widen the views that we currently have that may not be serving us too well anymore. And I think this is very contemporary as well. It is current, isn't it? Let's bring to today's reality. And I'm not here to actually give you all the latest updates on the world coronavirus topic. There's far too many news. It seems that people only know how to talk about that, isn't it? But in fact, without having to go through the facts and figures and the science and the biology behind it, I would rather suggest that we take now a view of looking at the specific circumstance that we all go through from a more philosophical standpoint. So let's reflect for a second. What are the opportunities that we've been having with this pandemic? Yes, you heard me right. You might be thinking, what did you say? Opportunities? Yes, opportunities. There has been, and there are still many fantastic opportunities if we want to see them. It's again a time of change. It's again a transition. And here we are today, in the Easter weekend, when the word is asking us, well, reconsider, change. Maybe there is a different era coming through. So let's look at the opportunities that this specific global scenario is giving us to look in a much deeper level. How many of us have found ourselves suddenly missing a lot of the personal connection, the human skin-to-skin connection with our brothers and sisters, to the people that sometimes in our normal, busy and chaotic lives, we say, I can't stand this guy anymore. Isn't that true? So I'm particularly alone by myself, physically alone in my house right now, because my wife is with the family in Brazil. She needed to go, and that's fine. And so the experience for me really has been, I probably have never valued so much the connection with other human beings and the power of that connection, such I am now, right now, having the opportunity to value. And that is a fantastic opportunity. Another great opportunity we are having is, and you can see, and I bet all of you through your family connections or friends or whatever, finding through this interesting period how many gifts and talents and creativity people around the world are having the time, the focus, and the energy to display, isn't it? How many WhatsApp videos or Instagram videos or whatever it is that your social media source is at, of people creating paintings or different work, or finding really smart and creative ways to express themselves. And we might wonder, but why wasn't that the case before? Well, we were too busy. We were too busy and stuck on our daily lives with work, with the different priorities, and we never really had the time to stop, to have the opportunity to give value to the true things. And how about those that are actually having the time of this lockdown to spend with their beloved ones at the household? Their wives, their sisters, their kids. At work, a lot of people are reporting when we talk, I have never experienced such a good time. Well, for some, not that great for some others. With my kids, I've been having the time to have breakfast with them. I have much more time to play with them, to actually enjoy their presence. So, maybe what I want to bring here in these times of change is it's all about the perspective and the way we look at things. And what I would like to propose today, if I could, or if I can, is that we allow ourselves at least to, instead of sending chaotic news, instead of helping the negative news or data to flow through our social media or through the channels of communication that you may have, well, rather than doing that, show your friends, your family, show the world what is it that you're capable of. What is it that you and me have as gifts, and we all have different ones. Share exactly some positive energy, some positive experiences with people, and enjoy the time that we have, or the free time if we want to do so, to really change someone else's life, because there is truly people right now struggling a lot. And I'm not here to just put some shade into that. Absolutely not. There's a lot of people already that unfortunately have lost their lives. There's a lot of families, for example, that lost their loved ones. There's a lot of people that are still, of course, anxious about how the whole pandemic will develop. But this is truly stuff or things that are a bit out of our control, isn't it? So I follow and I really like a writer called Brandon Burchard. And I'm reading this book, his book, The Charge. Highly recommend. And this is what he wrote in one of the chapters. Most of the events and experiences in life are often random, unexpected, coincidental, or if you prefer, fated. They just happen and are outside of our anticipation. However, our ultimate response, the meaning we give to those occurrences, is 100% within our control. See, there is not much we can do about what's going on around us. Well, there is. Let's stay home, let's be safe, Let's do the due of diligence of doing all the hygiene practices that we've been instructed to do so. And this is called social responsibility. So that's definitely something that is our obligation right now. But outside of that, whatever is happening, it's a bit out of our control. But how do we experience, how do we see what we do with the stuff that is out of our control? It is definitely within our control. And this is the importance of the moment we live in right now. Is that we make better choices. Is that maybe we change the way we even collaborate with people. Is that we change the value we give to our crazily hours that we do at work. Is that we've been invited to rethink about how much value do we give to our friends, to our connections. How often do we give a good friend that I have a call? How often do I really enjoy the company of those that I live with? And the brilliancy of this moment as well is that it's been natural to us human beings to look after the others. I'm sure you guys know how many initiatives, how many projects, how many people are right now working to provide basic conditions, basic resources to many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the world that have lost their jobs. So even through these tough times, actually through and because of the tough times, the humanity is having the opportunity to even be more charitable. And when we look through the different perspective, the same topic that was so dark, that was so difficult, can become a little bit lighter, can become a little bit more optimistic. And this is what Easter is about. If you don't want to do the practices at your specific church, or if you don't really like that, you don't follow that, that's absolutely fine. As long as you can use the time during Easter to not just go and buy eggs for all your friends or your kids, to hide the eggs, to eat the chocolate. Because let's be honest, Easter is not about the chocolate, it's not about the eggs. It's okay to, of course, do those things as well. But if you truly stop and utilize this time of Easter to reflect, and if the only usefulness of this talk for you right now is that you can become 1% more optimistic, you can feel after this chat 1% happier, 1% a little bit lighter, I think we have all accomplished what we wanted today. Really. Because this same 1% that today, or right now in this minute you're feeling, is exactly the seed that is needed to be within ourselves right now for us to continue, maybe slowly, day by day, to think about this different approach. And if you're wondering what Spiritism is about, you may have heard about it. Spiritism is a way of life, is a philosophy that really provides us all with the tools to look at things in a different perspective. We're not here to say that spiritists don't go through problems. The people that follow Spiritism have no hardship. That's absolutely not the case. The only thing, though, that we share by learning in our own development is the only thing that I've mentioned before on the reading of this book that I have here, that is within our control. The only thing is what we make of the things that happen to us within our free will. Like I said before, we can certainly make much better choices. Use the time, or let's use the time that we all have to reflect, to reassess, to change. And in that way, we're going to make something really much more positive out of this lockdown. Much more positive, fruitful, and productive for you, for your family, for your friends. And even after all of this pass, because I can tell you one thing, which is for sure, it will pass. Then after that, maybe that different perspective would have become your new lifestyle, your new way of looking at next challenges or the next problems that may come through your life. Wouldn't that be great? So, I'll leave you that then with that thought. And I'll invite you that if you want to know more about Spiritism, or want to actually engage on the next lectures or talks that we have every Saturday at this time in English, if you know somebody that would benefit out of this talk, maybe send the link, share it in your social media, in your group of friends. And remember, we accept all the different beliefs. You don't have to convert yourself, because this is a logical thinking and is not a dogmatic approach to things. All right, so before we finish, I would just like to, like we did in the beginning, use all of us, all the energy that we now possess, considering that now our thoughts seems to be very gently involved with this sense of well-being, sense of purpose, sense of meaning. Let's utilize this time to donate and to share this graceful energy, this beautiful energy, to everybody around the globe, all the people that I need. Imagine they're receiving. If you know of someone particularly that needs help, mentalize this person. And also, let's keep some of this energy to all of us. Requesting this energy to cleanse our house, shining this light to our family members. And in that way, let's finish our talk today. I wish you all a very good week. And next Saturday, at the same time, there's going to be another volunteer talking to you probably about a very useful topic for your life. All right? I'll see you guys later then. Bye-bye.